In a world obsessed with instant gratification, we are often led to believe that success is born from ease, comfort, and uninterrupted happiness. We are told that greatness comes from opportunities, privilege, and smooth roads. But what if I told you that the true blueprint for greatness is not drawn from those soft, comfortable places? What if it is forged in the harshest of conditions, through the relentless fires of suffering and hardship? We live in a time when suffering is often seen as something to avoid at all costs, a weakness, a burden, something that should be eradicated. But the truth is that suffering is not our enemy. It is, in fact, our greatest teacher, the unbreakable fire that tempers us into the individuals we were always meant to become. Let me take you on a journey, one that begins not in a place of triumph, but in the crucible of adversity. Imagine a young person, perhaps it's you, facing the weight of the world. Dreams shattered, the people they trusted most have turned their backs, and every effort seems to result in failure. This is the moment when many people give up, when they look at the wreckage of their lives and decide that they will never be able to rise again. But for the chosen few, for the ones who embrace the fire, this is not the end. This is the beginning. Because it is in those moments of despair, those moments when everything seems lost, that the greatest transformations occur. You see, suffering is not an anomaly. It is a part of the human experience, one that has shaped some of the most extraordinary individuals in history. The pain, the heartbreak, the loss, all of these things are the raw material that, when processed with strength, courage, and resilience, create something indestructible. Take a look at some of the most influential people to have ever walked this earth. They were not born into perfect circumstances. They weren't given golden opportunities or easy paths. They were tested by fire, and it was that fire that purified them. Consider the story of Nelson Mandela. Imprisoned for 27 years, separated from his family, enduring physical and emotional abuse, Mandela could have easily chosen to surrender to the flames of hatred and bitterness. But instead, he emerged from that fire with a heart full of compassion and a mind committed to reconciliation. His suffering was the crucible in which his greatest strength was forged. He did not allow his pain to break him. He used it to rebuild not only himself, but an entire nation. The truth is that suffering holds the blueprint for greatness. It has a unique way of pushing us to evolve, of helping us transcend our limitations, and of forcing us to confront the deepest parts of ourselves. We are often forced to face our vulnerabilities, our weaknesses, and our fears. And in that confrontation, we discover our true strength. When we go through hardship, we have a choice. We can either succumb to it, allowing it to drown us in despair and bitterness, or we can rise from it, using it to shape ourselves into something greater. The key to greatness lies in the second choice. Greatness is not defined by what we avoid, but by how we face the things that we cannot avoid. It's about standing tall when the weight of the world seems unbearable. It's about continuing to walk forward when every step feels like it might be your last. It's about taking that suffering, that pain, and turning it into something meaningful. And this is where many people fail to understand the true nature of suffering. We think of it as something we need to escape from, something that is a sign of weakness or failure. But what if we viewed it differently? What if we saw our pain not as an obstacle, but as the essential ingredient for our transformation? It's easy to look at others who seem to have it all together, the ones who seem to glide through life without a care, and think that they have something we don't. But the truth is that their lives haven't been defined by the same struggle. Their path hasn't been carved by the same fire. And while they may appear to have it easy, they have not experienced the deep, transformative power that comes with suffering. Suffering changes us in ways that success never could. It humbles us, refines us, and teaches us empathy. It forces us to shed the layers of pride, ego, and arrogance, and allows us to connect with the humanity of others in a deeper, more meaningful way. It teaches us that no matter how difficult the journey may be, we have the power to shape our own destiny. And this is the core message of this story. Suffering is not something that happens to us. It is something that happens for us. It is a force that shapes us into the people we need to become in order to fulfill our purpose. The fire that burns us is the same fire that transforms us into diamonds. But how do we tap into this power? How do we transform our pain into greatness? The first step is to stop seeing ourselves as victims of circumstance. Life may not always be kind, but it is never about what happens to us. It's about what we do with what happens to us. Our response to suffering is what defines us. When you face hardship, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask yourself, "What is this teaching me? What is this pain preparing me for?" The suffering you experience now is not without purpose. It is shaping your character, your resilience, and your understanding of the world. The second step is to embrace vulnerability. The unbreakable fire does not burn away everything. It leaves behind the purest version of ourselves, the one that is unafraid to be raw, real, and authentic. Embrace your pain, your wounds, and your fears. Do not shy away from them. It is only by fully experiencing the depths of suffering that we can truly understand the heights of greatness. And finally, take action. Suffering alone is not enough to bring about greatness. It is how you use that suffering to drive you, to fuel your determination, and to push you toward your goals. Every hardship is an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to become better. The unbreakable fire only serves to strengthen you if you allow it to. So, the next time life throws you into the flames, remember this. The fire is not here to destroy you. It is here to transform you. Embrace it. Learn from it. Let it shape you into the person you are destined to become. Because in the end, it is the suffering that will be the blueprint for your greatness. As we continue on this journey, let's dive deeper into the notion that our suffering is not simply a byproduct of our lives, but the very furnace in which we are forged. In the middle of every struggle, there lies a powerful opportunity for growth. Most people see suffering as a burden, something that must be avoided or, at best, endured. But those who understand its potential know that it is through suffering that we can break through our limitations and discover who we truly are. To understand this better, let's think about the process of refining gold. Raw gold is found in a rough, impure form. It is full of impurities that prevent it from shining. But when subjected to extreme heat, the gold melts and the impurities rise to the surface, leaving the pure gold behind. The fire doesn't destroy the gold, it refines it. The same principle applies to us. We too are like raw gold. The hardships and trials of life are the fire that melts us down. At first it may feel like we are losing everything, our comfort, our security, our identity. But if we endure, if we hold on, we too can emerge as something purer, stronger, and more valuable. The impurities, the fears, the doubts, the weaknesses are burned away, leaving behind the essence of who we are meant to be. Every challenge you face is a chance for you to burn away the parts of yourself that no longer serve you. Every heartache, every failure, and every setback is an opportunity to become a stronger version of yourself. It is through enduring these trials that we grow, evolve, and ultimately step into the greatness that is already within us. The truth is that success is not something that happens once we have avoided suffering. It is not a reward we receive after life gives us everything we want. Success is born from our ability to endure, to rise again after each fall, and to learn from every obstacle that stands in our way. The greatest individuals throughout history did not achieve greatness by avoiding suffering. They achieved it by embracing it, by facing it head-on, and by allowing it to shape them into better, more powerful versions of themselves. Think about someone like Thomas Edison, who famously failed over 1,000 times before finally inventing the light bulb. Each failure could have broken him, but instead he chose to see it differently. He didn't see it as a reason to quit. He saw it as one more opportunity to learn, to grow, and to get closer to his goal. He didn't just survive his suffering, he thrived because of it. And through his suffering, we now have light in our homes. Edison's story is not unique. In fact, if you look closely at the lives of any great achiever, you will see a common theme. Suffering was a catalyst for their success. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her job as a television reporter early in her career, and that rejection could have crushed her. But instead, she used that suffering to fuel her determination to succeed. She transformed her pain into power, and today she is one of the most influential women in the world. We can also look to more modern examples. Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur and inventor, faced countless setbacks in his career. His companies, including Tesla and SpaceX, were on the brink of collapse multiple times. But Musk didn't let his suffering break him. Instead, he used it to push through the hardest moments and to build the very companies that have revolutionized industries. Musk's resilience is a testament to the power of embracing suffering. When everything seems to be falling apart, it is easy to believe that it is a sign of failure. But in reality, it is often in those moments that the greatest breakthroughs occur. When we are at our lowest, we are forced to tap into resources we never knew we had. We are pushed to be more creative, more resourceful, and more determined. The suffering we experience becomes the fuel that propels us forward, not as victims, but as warriors. At this point, it's crucial to acknowledge that suffering is not just about surviving. It's about thriving despite the circumstances. It's about transforming the very energy of hardship into a force that drives us toward our purpose. We don't need to run from pain. We need to learn to channel it. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What hardships have you faced? What obstacles seemed insurmountable at the time? Now think about how those experiences shaped you. Perhaps they led you to discover strengths you never knew existed. Maybe they revealed passions or talents you hadn't yet recognized. Perhaps your suffering taught you empathy, resilience, or patience, qualities that are necessary for greatness. In this process of transformation, we also learn something incredibly valuable, that we are not defined by our pain. Too often we believe that suffering will break us, that it will define us in a negative way. But what we fail to realize is that suffering only has as much power over us as we allow it to. It is not the pain that makes us great, it is how we respond to it. The most powerful individuals in history did not let their suffering define their limits. They did not accept defeat. Instead, they recognized that their suffering was only temporary, and they chose to use it as the foundation for something greater. And in doing so, they became the architects of their own greatness. We need to adopt the same mindset in our own lives. No matter what we are facing, no matter how hard the journey may seem, we must remember that suffering does not define us. We are not our pain, and we are not the circumstances we find ourselves in. We are the warriors who rise above them, who learn from them, and who use them to create something extraordinary. By reframing suffering in this way, we begin to see it not as an obstacle, but as a necessary part of our growth. It is the crucible in which we are tested, the fire that burns away the unnecessary, and the forge that shapes us into the greatness we were always meant to embody. So when the fire comes, and it will come, don't run from it, don't hide from it, embrace it, use it, let it refine you, shape you, and propel you toward your greatness. The suffering you are enduring today is not here to break you. It is here to build you, to strengthen you, and to push you into a future you never thought possible. As we reach the final section of this journey, it's time to reflect on what we've learned and how we can take these insights into our daily lives. Suffering is not something to avoid. It is the very substance that shapes us into who we are meant to be. It is not the absence of pain that leads to greatness, but rather our response to that pain. Greatness does not come easily. It is not granted to us on a silver platter. It is forged in the fires of hardship, shaped through the trials we face, and born from our resilience to rise every time we fall. We have already seen how great individuals, people like Edison, Oprah, and Elon Musk, have used their suffering as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. But now we must ask ourselves, how can we apply these lessons to our own lives? The first step is to acknowledge that we are in control of how we respond to suffering. Life will continue to throw challenges our way. Some will be small, others will seem insurmountable. But no matter the size of the struggle, we always have a choice in how we meet it. Will we face it with fear and resistance, or will we approach it with strength, knowing that it is an opportunity for growth? The key to transforming suffering into greatness is not about simply enduring. It's about understanding that every obstacle carries with it the seed of transformation. Every challenge is an invitation to rise to a higher level. The moment we stop seeing pain as a punishment and start viewing it as a pathway to personal development, we unlock our true potential. Let me be clear. This does not mean that we should welcome suffering for the sake of it. No one wants to endure pain for no reason. But what we must do is shift our mindset. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we should ask, "What can I learn from this?" Or, "How can this experience help me grow?" This shift in perspective is powerful. It is the difference between seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances and seeing yourself as the creator of your destiny. The truth is that we all have the capacity to reshape our lives, to take the lessons we learn from hardship and turn them into fuel for our dreams. It is within our power to turn every trial into an opportunity for triumph. To truly understand the power of this mindset, let's consider the concept of the hero's journey, a narrative framework that has been used in storytelling for centuries, from ancient myths to modern-day movies. The hero's journey is the story of an individual who is called to adventure, faces challenges and suffering, and ultimately transforms through those trials into someone greater. This journey is not just a fictional tale, it is a reflection of the path that every one of us must take in life if we are to achieve our full potential. The hero does not start out strong. In fact, the hero often begins in a place of weakness or ignorance. They may be reluctant to take on the challenge, unsure of their abilities. But as they face each trial, they grow, they learn, they become stronger, wiser, and more capable of facing even greater challenges. And in the end, they emerge transformed, not only achieving their goal, but becoming something far greater than they ever imagined. This journey is not linear. It's full of setbacks, defeats, and moments of doubt. There are times when the hero may feel like giving up, times when the weight of the world seems unbearable. But it is precisely in those moments that the hero finds the strength to press on. They tap into something deep within themselves, a well of resilience and courage that they did not know existed. And through this, they are able to overcome the obstacles in their path and achieve greatness. You too are on a hero's journey. You may not be facing mythical beasts or battling supernatural forces, but the struggles you face are no less significant. Whether it's personal loss, professional setbacks, or inner struggles, these challenges are your crucible. They are the tests that will shape you, refine you, and ultimately make you stronger. The suffering you endure today is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your transformation. Now, let's talk about the final piece of the puzzle. How do we use our suffering to not only improve ourselves, but to help others as well? One of the greatest gifts that suffering can give us is the ability to empathize with others. When we go through difficult times, we gain a deeper understanding of what others might be experiencing. We develop a sense of compassion, of solidarity, that makes us more connected to the people around us. This connection is crucial. In a world that often feels divided, suffering has the power to unite us. It reminds us that we are all human, that we all face challenges, and that we are not alone in our struggles. When we use our suffering to help others, we begin to transcend the limitations of our own pain. We find purpose in the very thing that once felt like a burden. Consider the story of Nelson Mandela, who endured 27 years in prison under the apartheid regime in South Africa. During that time, he faced unimaginable suffering, but instead of letting that suffering define him in a negative way, he used it to fuel his fight for justice and equality. His experience in prison gave him the strength to lead a nation toward freedom and reconciliation. He emerged from his suffering not as a victim, but as a hero who changed the world. In the same way, when we use our suffering as a tool for compassion and service, we can create a ripple effect of positive change in the world. Our pain becomes not just a personal experience, but a collective one. It becomes a force for good, a means of bringing people together and lifting them up. As we come to the end of this journey, I want to remind you of one crucial thing. You are stronger than you think. You are more capable than you realize. The suffering you face is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your transformation. Every struggle, every hardship, and every challenge is an opportunity for you to grow, to evolve, and to become the person you are destined to be. So, the next time you find yourself in the midst of suffering, remember this. It is not happening to you. It is happening for you. It is the fire that will refine you, the forge that will make you stronger, and the blueprint for the greatness that lies within you. Embrace it, learn from it, and use it to propel yourself toward your destiny. Your suffering is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your greatness.